ideas. So what we're going to talk about today is how to use Desmos, which is the graphing calculator that I have linked at the top of your page. How to use Desmos to get an equation from a list of data. So I've given you, say, this data right here. Everyone can see it, right? We want to be able to determine certain equations. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this information through Desmos, get the slope and the y-intercept, and then just write the equation with that information. We are also going to graph the data. So my first recommendation is to have your Go Formative, which is the assignment, open in one tab, and the spreadsheet open in another, okay? Because we're going to graph all our data as well. So first thing it says is what equation best represents the relationship between the number of substitutions and the hours of sleep. And we want to graph the points, run the information through the calculator above or desmos.com. We're going to round all values to the nearest hundredth. I promise you it does not matter which calculator you use because they are the exact same calculator. So if you want to scroll up, you can do that. If you'd rather tab between screens, you can do that as well. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we can look at our table, our graph here, right? And it tells us our y-axis is number of substitutions, and our x-axis is number of hours of sleep. So the first thing you're going to do, and I need everyone to make sure you're doing this, is go to your spreadsheet in Google Docs, and we are going to highlight all of the number of substitutions, and we're going to copy that, Control C or Edit Copy. And then you see where we have the column, it says X. Underneath that, just click in this spot in slot G2, and we're going to paste. You can also get paste from your edit, but Control C for copy, Control V for paste. I know there's a different button on the Macs, but I think it's like the Apple button or something like that. Okay, so that's number of substitutions. The y-axis, sorry, the y-axis was number of substitutions. I apologize, guys. I moved it to the wrong spot. Let me fix that. X was hours of sleep. So we're going to do the same thing with hours of sleep. Highlight them all. So if you're not sure, you just click on the first one and drag down to the bottom one. Make sure you only have that column highlighted. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Once you have this set up with your X and your Y, you're going to copy the whole thing. Control C to copy. I'll put it in both desmos.com. So if you're doing desmos.com, you just click on Graphing Calculator. You'll notice if you do that, it is the same graphing calculator that I put up here, okay? I'm going to tab between screens. So what you're going to do is in this first box, paste your table, and it'll automatically format it as a table for you. Then you're going to click Add Item, f of x. In here, you are going to type y, and then you're going to do an underscore. That's the shift and then the minus or the hyphen key. So y underscore 1, right arrow to get out of the subscript, and then you're going to put the tilde, the squiggle mark, approximately, because it's not equal to. Notice how these do not form a perfectly straight line, okay? So it's not equal to, it's approximately equal to, okay? M, then X underscore 1, right arrow, plus B. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this is our M, our parameters down here. Let me make that a little easier. Where did my pen go? Here it is. Highlight. Our parameters are down here. If you did this in the one that's in the Go Formative, you can just scroll up and down. But our M is negative 1.34 and our B is 10.31. So in our equation here, we're going to put Y equals negative 1.34 X plus 10.31. We are still going to graph them. Graphing just points, we're not going to graph the line, just the points. Graphing just points is relatively simple in this software. Click here on this little colored line up here and select a different thickness, a bigger thickness, one of the 3 higher ones. I like this one right here because it's not too thick. So see, I can just line it up and click the dot. I might go a little bit bigger. Let's see. There, I like that better. And we're just going to graph all the points that we were given. So you can either use your Desmos list, 3, 6, 7, 1, 5, 4, or you can get it from the soccer regression list. It's the same one, 3, 6, 7, 1, 5, 4. So go ahead, and I'm going to let you guys work on that for just a moment. Go ahead and graph them. I will graph them as we go. So if you want to see what they're supposed to look like, wait just a moment before we move on to the next one, okay? So go ahead and graph these points. Okay, so if we look at this data, we can tell that this is not a function, right? Because we have several on the 5 and we have 2 on the 3. We can tell, though, it goes, if we were to draw a line through as many of these points as possible, that it is a negative slope. And if we were to continue drawing a line, I'm going to use a dashed line. You don't have to do the line here, but I'm just going to, as an example, I would be able to about right here draw that through about half of the lines here. Okay, that's our line of best fit. It's roughly our line of best fit. Okay. Once you're done graphing those points and you've entered in the equation, click the check mark, and we're going to move down to the next one. So number 2 says, what equation best represents the relationship between distance of kick and hours of sleep? So if we look again at our graph, hours of sleep is our X, distance of kick is our Y. Okay. So the only thing, we are going to keep our hours of sleep the same. So we're going to change it to our Y to distance of kick. So first thing, go ahead and copy the column that has the distance of kick data and paste it over the number of substitutions data in the Y column here. Go to the calculator app before you copy paste, and you're going to click settings or edit list, and we are going to delete all. Now, if you're wondering why I'm clicking delete all, It is because when I was doing this earlier, if you don't delete them all, you have to rework what you write for your function, and it might just be easier to start fresh, okay? Um, Starting fresh is always going to work. So now that we have a fresh screen, we are going to copy both tables, so both columns, sorry. Highlight your X and your Y, and you can transfer them to your graphing calculator, either in the Desmos tab by itself or in the right there in that graphing app that I posted in the GoFormative. It might be easier to do in the Desmos app simply because it's bigger. Click Add. We're going to add a function expression, and we're going to type the exact same thing. Y_1 right arrow is approximately mx_1 right arrow to get out of the subscript plus b. And this time it gives me my slope as m is equal, oops, undo, highlight. M is equal to 5.21, B is equal to 44.80 because it's 797. Okay. So we're going to go to our equation down here. So y equals 5.21 x plus 44.80. Now, normally you could just type 44.8, but this is rounded, so please put 80 because it's rounded to the nearest hundredth. All right, so make sure you round appropriately. Now again, we're going to go ahead and graph all of the points. So again, we can start with using our table. We have 357. Now notice our y-axis is in fives, so I don't expect everyone's to be exactly the same. I'm going to go to 3 hours of sleep, go up roughly halfway between 55 and 60, and add a point. Next one is 785, 7 hours of sleep versus an 85, I guess, foot kick. All right, last one. Distance of kick versus height. So distance of kick is still our y. We're going to put the student's height in inches as our x. So again, we're going to go over here and highlight all the data that's under height. Control C to copy. Come over to your X column and paste. Go to your Desmos and go to Edit List. Delete all. Same thing if you're using the in-app calculator, delete all. Again, it's just to make sure the data is fresh and clear so nothing goes wrong with it. And now we're going to copy these two columns, X and Y, and paste. If you get a thing like this on the test, what I will do is recommend, I'll put the data into Google Sheets for you, okay? Um, if there's a question where you have to do regression, I will make a Google Sheets that you can access and look at. Okay, and it'll be open for anyone to use. So you should be able to edit it as you go. So I'll make one for everyone, and it should work. But on that one, you're not going to have like 4 sets of data in the same table. I promise you only have 1 set of data per table, so you won't actually have to do the crazy editing we're doing. Okay. Oh. All right. And unless you're told otherwise, round to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to add the function expression, and in there we're going to type y_1, right arrow to get out of the subscript, squiggly mark approximately, m x sub 1, and that's the underscore, right to get out of the subscript, plus b, and it gives me a slope of 0.34 and a y-intercept of 46.48. So y equals 0.34x, right? 356. Ah, I need to round better. 36. I'll double check the key too. If yours turns red, could be that I misread it in the key as well. 46.48. Okay. And then graph this data as well. So you will have questions that just say graph, and you'll have questions that say what is the line or equation that best suits. If it just says graph, you are just required to graph the points, unless there's other questions asked of you with that particular graph. So, oops, I'm going to go here. And that was literally all you have to do to get the line of best fit, or the equation that best represents the relationship between a bunch of dots that don't actually line up perfectly. Okay.